skyrocketed too. We live by the seat of our pants every year.
The rents actually stayed the same, I think, for,
It's raised one time since we've been there.
yeah. And that's like, what, 5 years?
5
Yeah,
years,
building.
yes.
But the
We're
3 months
hoping.
you're asking for this year is the same amount as last year.
So far, he hasn't.
Yeah, so far he has not raised it. I did see that I did increase maybe $20. I just noticed that over there.
Have you ever thought about purchasing your building?
We have been talking about that. But,
I mean, according, you know, you would
this
probably have
building,
enough.
not this building,
Oh, another one?
because it's not for sale.
Okay.
And there's 4 other businesses in this building besides ours.
Oh, you had to buy the whole works.
So. And we have looked at other buildings, and then with what we have, everything's more than what we have. And there was a grant that Governor Reynolds did put out there that you could for nonprofits and different things, but that was not something that we got. We're looking,
Yeah.
I mean, and
Well, it
then,
looks like you got to get started here if you wanted to.
well, and then if
purchase
you
something.
have, if we purchase something, like I said, we live by donations, and we'd have to hope every year that enough donations came in.
I
to
realize that.
maintain
Yeah, it'd be nice to have that reserve, I guess, but
You know.
you would not have the rent if you had
Right,
your own building. But you'd have costs with that as well.
because, like I said, every year we have to hope that, and we live in a very generous community, but we have to hope that the community maintain that building every year too.
Sure.
I see on your board of directors, you have one that's not living here anymore. Will you guys be replacing that position?
Who is that?
Mr. Weaver.
Yes, we've already,
He's already-
and, we have replaced him with new things.
Okay.
That this was written out before.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I just saw it. I was like, well, I wonder, I assume you guys probably replaced that, but
Yes, he has resigned and we have replaced him before this is filled out.
does anybody have any more questions?
So this, your primary request is,
Level funding,
2,900.
level
So-
funding for 3 months, right?
Yeah, right, but much further in, yeah. Do you have any need for anything like, you know, I donated a freezer, do you have any need for anything like that, so that
Our
people can,
freezers are slowly shelling one at a time. I think we've repaired 2 of them this year and replaced 1 in the last few months.
so you could use
If,
freezers, if somebody has a freezer they would like to donate?
well, we don't want somebody's junk that we.
Right,
have to
exactly.
pay for disposal.
I get that,
Because,
Not sure she trusts you. I think there might be an
maybe the one that I donated, didn't last very long.
ulterior motive.
we actually are still using that one, but, we need them that they're gonna last and they're gonna work, because, I think the one freezer repair was $200, and honestly, the new ones you buy are, sometimes cheaper than the older ones, and we like the upright ones, because then you gotta dig to the bottoms, and the new stuff gets put on top, and then the older stuff never gets used, and not that we're fussy, but we're fussy, you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
then if we had to take a check, we have more to. I think I got my phone, I don't think that's. So, yeah, we did apply for a Timmerman grant, we did not get it. We were going to buy meat gift certificates to have available for meat. And we did not get that, which is fine, because other people got it and they were deserving.
Mhm.
We're proud of our program, so we welcome
Yeah.
anybody to come. We do lock
It's
our
always good.
doors. We are making appointments. People are making appointments to come in. It's not just open for the public to come in. And the clientele, if they come to the door and we have time, we do make an appointment right away. But we're hoping that people make appointments and we're scheduling a pickup time so they don't have to wait. And there's not a bunch of people waiting at one time. And that basically started when COVID hit, and then I had cancer and my immune system was down, and we just didn't have a lot of people in the waiting room. And it's working, so we thought, why change it?
Sure. All right,
Jean, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Well, obviously, we're going into our budget season, so we'll put that into consideration, and then if we do decide to do a payment or an allocation to you guys, we'll let you know after we get into the budget season.
Okay, thank you guys very
Perfect.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks
keep
for
up the
your
good work.
support.
yeah.
Courtney, when do we
thank you.
normally, I mean,
Usually
Middle?
like end of February, first part of March, you should have a good idea.
Thank you, guys.
perfect,
They wouldn't
thank you.
sign until July 1st, correct?
Yeah.
Thank you for what you do.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is 9:15 Historical Society Fiscal Year 24 funding request. Good morning, Barb.
Good morning.
How are you?
Hi, Bart.
Just fine, thank you. Thank you for hearing our request again this year. I'll just kind of go through our activities here a little bit. We do have a new item for sale. We've sold a few of them. It's a little fun drive, putting some of our most popular books on there, especially our postcard book, which we don't want to reprint. It's actually from the Preservation Commission. When I was on that commission, we put that together. And the plaques around town. Every once in a while, we get a visitor that has gone around and read all those plaques. And I've seen people stopping from the museum and read that plaque, so that's kind of neat. We continue to sell the prints. That's going very slowly, but hopefully that'll pick up again this summer. We had our annual open house, all 4 sites. This coming year, we're ordering signs for the outside of the schoolhouse and the trapper's cabin and the barn, hoping that will attract more people in. We expanded our hours after our regular season was over. And some days we sat there by ourselves on Sundays, and other times we had a full house. So we're going to try every Sunday this coming season, maybe starting in March already, depending on how I can line up volunteers. So again, that's kind of neat when we can do that. Gave a lot of tours. The coolest was when it's a group called the Early Ford V8 Club of America. And these people all had cars from the 30s, maybe before, all V8 engines. They met at Swan Lake. They asked me to be there. Gave them a little history of Swan Lake. And then we had a parade into town to the museum. That was fun. Beautiful cars. People were looking at us all the while in. We got some cool acquisitions too. Probably the most historic is the Gilliam Melodeon. Now, William Gilliam was the one who rented the first courthouse here for Carroll County. He had the old shack that was not being used by the railroad, and he rented that to the county for $50 a month, way back when. He was an artist historian. He started out in Carrollton, and they had carried a melodeon, which is a small organ, reed organ, and the family donated that this year. I didn't think they ever would, to be honest, because the person that had it, the family member that had it, was really, really proud of it. Anyway, that's cool, and it's working. All it needed was a little dowel to the pedal. You can see on that picture that it is, it has 2-foot pedals, and all I had to do is buy a dowel and replace that. It doesn't quite match, but it looks, but it works fine.
Can you play it?
It works. We have an electric organ that someone donated this last summer, and that'll play for you if you just learn to push the right buttons. And I'm having a hard time. I'm learning when the saints come marching in. That's fun too. But anyway. We got a lot of stuff from Dr. Alan Annenberg. And again, since his son died so unexpectedly there, we now have Dr. Walter's footlocker from his military days. That's out in the barn with the little military display out there. I simply really don't have room in the museum anymore. It would have been hard to find a decent place there. You notice I put a little note in about the trapper's cabin. There was some unfortunate person there who,
Free roof out of the deal.
no, that was something else. Someone was hired to replace the roofs of the bathrooms up there. And they looked at the log cabin and they thought that was a bathroom. So they tore the roof off. Yeah,
She's got
it was
three.
a
A new
mistake.
roof free.
It was a tree roof. They wanted to know if I would accept asphalt. And I said, no. Those were cedar shakes on there. And while they weren't new, asphalt or steel just won't work there. But so, yeah, it's a new roof. Now we just get the
Good job
walls
sticking
fixed.
to your guns.
When the guy who's doing the villa finishes that project, he said he would fix our log cabin. That north wall is just getting worse. And we're hoping that we can get that done within the next year or two. The ghost town tours was just amazing. We have not had a good history with fundraisers. And I was really hoping that this would be an exception, and it certainly was. We turned so many people away from that we're going to do it again. And the neatest thing about that tour was that we found out about Browning. Browning was the one ghost town that they really knew nothing about, just that it existed and where it existed. Well, there was one of the relatives on the ghost town tour that told us that that house that's there was that original post office. And when they remodeled it way back when, his relative remembered that all of the machinery for the post office was still there,
Where's Browning? You point to it on the map.
west of Lanesboro.
West of Lanesboro.
Yeah, west of Lanesboro. I doubt if it's,
On the highway or by the cemetery or?
it's a mile off of 130th Street.
Okay.
It's straight north, more or less, of Banan. Yeah, we just had to drive a couple miles on gravel to get to it. But that house, and the monument is across the road. You could drive right by it and not see it. We noticed somebody on the yard of that place, so we stopped and asked where that monument was. And, you know, we drove right by it. And then across the road is that house. And so it's just amazing. We're going to be updating that tour a little bit because we have to include that. And I don't think I'm going to go to Eden, that cemetery. We had to go quite a ways west and south to go there. It took a lot of time. And I thought that'd be a nice time for a break. And I left the people off the bus. Scattered. It was like the worst field trip ever. They just went home. No, we don't have time for this. 10 minutes. But I got all back on the bus and I didn't let them out again until we got. Okay. We had fun with getting a picnic bench back at the M&M Divide. When we had the Iowa Lincoln Highway Association dedicate that informational panel last year, I found out a lot of information, and that the Carroll Parks had donated the first picnic table and things like that. And I thought it's time to get that picnic table back. So I organized this little thing, went to these various people. The city of Carroll did not want to contribute, so the Historical Society put a little bit more in than I had originally planned. And then we got the picnic table on that cement pad, which the Conservation Board had donated. And all of a sudden I realized we don't have a trash can. Why have a picnic bench if you're not going to have a trash can there to keep the place clean? And I've arranged for that. It won't cost more than the cost of a new liner for the one that the Conservation Office has. So that's going to be good. It'll be concrete, just like the table is. And if it's, I don't know if I included a picture of the table or not, but there'll be more coming on that. And we had requests again, maybe not as many as in the past, mostly genealogy things. And I try to get them the information they need. But the most interesting to me was Artesian Lake. He wanted some information about Artesian Lake. You guys heard of Artesian Lake?
Mhm.
It's up south of Lanesboro.
Mhm.
I guess it's been dry with the drought now the last couple of years, but at one time, was it the 30s? They were really going to make a development out there, dance hall, everything. alcohol. It was supposed to be quite a going business, but it
Sounds like
didn't.
you had alcohol on the ghost tour. You couldn't round everybody up.
They just thought they could go and look at the tombstones, which is fine. And there was one family who had a relative buried out there, so I can totally understand that, but it was on the far corner. So I got them pulled away from that. Okay. We're asking for 4,000 again. We are trying to increase our fundraising. It was a fantastic season for us. People, I think the Sundays helped, and selling the tickets just at the chamber and the museum helped because they had to come to the museum. So we really had a lot of people go through all 4 areas. With the Farmstead barn, they don't always sign in. But I can tell that there are people out there, if they pick something up and they don't get it put back down, I usually can pick that out pretty good. In the schoolhouse area, that always gets a lot of traffic from the kids. So some people even tried the old fashioned lawnmowers to see if they worked. So, we are going to try an experiment. The stained glass windows, and I included a picture of them. I had a tour yesterday and they noticed those stained glass windows right away. They wondered where they came from and that. To get more people in, we're going to experiment with trying a few more programs at the museum. Main problem is space. You know, the only time we had a really big program turnout was years back when we did the orphan train. That drew in a lot of people. And we're going to do it at a time other than the open house, which will bring more people in and not be so interruptive. So, that's mainly what's going on. I'm going to try and include programs that cover the entire county. We might start with urban renewal because you might know Ron Beckman is writing the history of that. And Vicki Gash is helping him with that. And she's agreed that she could do a program. I don't think Ron's got some health issues right now. And maybe Carrollton, maybe the Manning Trestle Bridge. We'll see what we can pull together that would be of interest throughout the county.
Speaking of Manning, the Model A Club evidently is going to overnight there this year, which is a big thing for the town. Is that?
It's not my group, but you know what? I'd like to get a group like that when we dedicate the M&M Divide and park their old cars right there. It's fascinating. Well, have I taken too much time already?
No, I want to thank you for all your dedication
Yeah.
to Carroll County. It's inspiring how much.
Yes, thank you. It's been interesting. The ghost town tour itself was interesting.
I kind of want to go on that one. Just watch everybody scatter.
Heard the cats.
That won't happen again. But, you know, we put this tour together and I had people telling me a better route. What else was there? Okay.
But I'll tell you, Barb, I heard a lot of good comments on your ghost town tours. I did hear a lot of good comments.
Good. It's fun. I wish there was a way to do it where we could have more than one bus. But we did go to Windstar, but that was over $900.
Yeah.
So who does who's the expert in the ghost? Are you?
I read through all the materials we had and looked up what I could. I had it more or less. I had a cheat sheet. I didn't have to read too much off, but just finding something out about Browning was just worth all the trouble we had with it. To find that original building was still there.
Yeah, great.
Perfect. Does anybody else have any more questions? Well, we'll let you know, once we get into the budget, we'll put it
Thank
into
you.
her and we'll
I
let you
appreciate
know.
all the help you can give us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Barb, very much.
Thanks.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
All right. Next item on the agenda is Brita Daycare fiscal year 24 funding request.
Come on.
Yeah.
I can't beat her presentation.
You didn't find
Sure try.
you didn't find a random town.
I know one on these two, and I didn't know it existed, and I'm going now.
Right on early.
Don't go running off.
Oh, my gosh.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning. And like she had said, I am with the Rita Daycare Center. And I have a couple of attachments that you guys, I will probably reference while I go through my presentation. It's in the back of your packet that we put together for you. So just kind of FYI. So last time we talked, last January, December, whatever it was, we were kind of in the middle of the last couple of years. We kind of had a 3-phase project with the daycare. Wanted to get a new addition put on for the baby room. That happened during COVID with some childcare challenge grant proceeds that we had gotten from the state. Then they did a second round of those childcare challenge. So we did the second phase, which was putting an addition on the preschool room. So we added about 10 kids the first edition, 10 babies, which is good for the daycare because from a business perspective, the babies are the money makers.
Plus you got 5 years of them.
Okay, so that was good because from a profit standpoint, you add 10 kids there. Then when we did the preschool room, we added roughly 6, potentially maybe 7, depending on how the state would look at square footage. And so the third phase, which is why I'm here today, is, so some of you might know this, but the state changed a little bit of the ratios with kids. It used to be, you know, X amount of kids per 1 staff member, right? And they increased, it used to be like 6 kids to 1 staff member, depending on the age, or if they were under 2 years old, it was 4 kids to 1 staff member. They altered those a little bit in the last couple of years. And so with that, what it's allowing us and what this third project is and that blueprint that you have there, we need to add it roughly about 70 square foot. So we have an infant room, what we call a transition room. We have a toddler room, which is 2 to 3, 4-ish. And then we have our preschool room. And so we put additions on our baby room and our preschool room. It's that middle room that's kind of causing us an issue because you need to transition them through the center, right? With those increase in ratios, so we can now have 7 or 8 kids to 1 staff member with the new changes. We need to add about 70 square foot into this toddler room. We've already have a contractor in place. So Colin King with Sterling Enterprises, he's out of Lake City. So he has committed, he's the one that actually did the blueprints. He's contracted with Tiefenthaler Building Supply out of Breda. They have quoted us, and that's what that second page there with the 31. And there is about $2,000 worth kind of, I guess, if you want to call it cushion there. Just unforeseen electrical, you know, with any project, that's always the case. And so we've gotten a quote. And then one thing I did not include with your guys' stuff, just because I felt like it was maybe a little bit of overkill, but Tiefenthaler has actually gone through and done like a whole supplies list.
Itemized.
So we have, I mean, if you guys want to see, that's where the $7,536.
Yeah, see it's
Yeah, well, yeah, when you're done with it, I do.
Yeah, go ahead. And that's, so, and then behind there too, I felt like it was a little bit of overkill, but is the state approved architectural drafts. So we kind of crossed all of our T's and dotted all of our I's with the whole plan. Where I want to be transparent is in years past, we've always asked for 6,000 from the supervisors. One time I would just like you guys to consider we have asked for 8,000 this year and just hear me out as why. So you can see the whole quote is about 30. I'm going to round. So about 32,000. We have gotten 7,500, which will cover the materials through a grant. We got 7,500 for that. So with that, the price stuff, so that itemized listing from Tiefenthaler's, we were actually able to like lock that in because as we all know, those prices are going up and down and fluctuating. And I just wanted to make sure that like, we don't get to the point where, okay, we're ready to go. And then it's $5,000 higher. So with the grant, we've already basically paid for those materials. Okay.
the state grant.
Yes. Yep. So we've gotten that. We've actually had a private donator donate 11,000 to the project. And then we did a golf outing at the end of August last year, specific funding. That was about $3,500. So in total, we've raised about $22,000 for this project. And the reason that I'm asking for 8,000 this year is so that if we would get those proceeds from the supervisors, that would give us 30,000. We're in the middle of doing a butter braid fundraiser right now. in years past, we've always done the butter braid, roughly about 500 to 700, depending on how much we sell.
Mhm.
We'll get about 500, say, in profits, and then we would be short about 1,500. And we're gonna do a trivia night at Reds in Breda, and that's normally about 1,200 to 1,500. So we should be able to hopefully come up with the $2,000 shortfall with the 2 fundraisers that we have. I'd like to get this done by March. For the simple fact that some of the projects and things, I want to have it done while Colin can do it. He is also, you know, runs a business. He runs the bar in Auburn. But he also is going to be building some houses and things that he's kind of got in the pipeline. So if I can, this would be a good winter project for him. It works better in his schedule. So I want to try to have this done by March.
The money wouldn't come from us until July 1.
And I think we would be able, he will work with us as far as, you know, he understands it's a daycare center and that if, you know, he knows that. So that's not my, you know, my biggest worry. I just want to be able to. So by adding these 270 square foot, because we're already a little bit over the square footage we have there. I would like, right now, we keep it at 10 kids in this middle room. So you can have 6 in that room, you can have 6 kids to 1 staff member. So I already have 10 kids in that room, so I already need 2 staff members, right? But I want to increase the capacity to 12. So from an efficiency perspective and utilizing my staff members. If you're kind of picking up what I'm putting down. Where some of the extra cost is coming with, and we had Colin come in and he inspected this, and there was a couple different ways that we could go about doing this, but the best way and probably the most cost-effective way is we're going to have to move the actual entrance to the center. We're going to move that and bring a wall out. So that's kind of a little bit of where the extra cost. There's a couple other ways we could have done it, but there was going to be a lot more additional electrical and even some water line issues, that kind of stuff. So this is kind of the draft, what we've come up with. If any of you've ever seen the Breda Daycare Center, so it was just a residential home, right? And so it kind of started with DG Partridge and just with Move It and, you know, kind of providing a lot of families that had worked at Move It with daycare. And so over the years, you know, there's probably a lot of things that are kind of grandfathered in, if you will, as far as, you know, if you were building a new commercialized center, what they would require you of. What Colin kind of has done, he built a home for us a couple years ago. And he was really, he knows his codes, he knows where things have to be. So there's a platform to make it more safe for the kids, because right now, like when you walk in, you kind of have to go up a set of stairs. It's not the most ideal. So while he's there and we're moving this wall out, we're gonna make this kind of more of like we're gonna basically eliminate the stairs, the step up. So that way, you know, we've sometimes had kids like, you know, fall down or whatever, just, you know, how kids are, but we can eliminate some of that. And then there is, he's gonna actually create a little closet so we can hide our, like, all of our electrical, so it's just not, you don't see it. It's things that, like, you know, we get inspected by the state, so obviously if it was a really big issue, the state would have made a bigger issue about it, but that's kind of some miscellaneous things that we have included in that list of stuff from TDS. So do you guys have any questions for me as far as the project or?
Not so much on the project, but on your attachment number 5.
Yeah.
Did you mean 50,000 or 50 million?
I know those, all those M's on there.
Yeah. Is it 50 million,
Okay.
50,000?
Every one of them's an M.
Do you want to know why? Okay, so I work for the state, right? And they require us, so our bank reports,
I was like, dang, 6
Thousand.
million.
I know
No.
every one of them's an
Six
M.
thousand.
Yeah, so our,
I
like,
thought it was a key.
they won't let us use case. So like when we send in a report for, like when we go in and examine a bank. And we send a report up to the superintendent of banking who has to review them, they will not allow case. M's means thousands. It's a,
Roman
Thanks for
numerals.
cleaning that up for me.
yeah, no,
Roman
that,
numerals, right?
yeah,
Can you go to my bank and add an N behind mine?
I
Agree.
Well, yeah,
I'm
so no, M means thousands. It's not million.
That would be.
I seen the same thing. I was questioning that.
No, yeah, yep, no, so any bank report, if you ever want to read it, that's. they
Yeah,
all
those,
say
those
M.
are really fun reading.
Yeah, they all say M's.
I do like your grassroots fundraising, some cool stuff.
Yeah, that's nice.
And all kind of Rita centric.
You know what? We have a really, really good group of parents at the daycare
Mhm.
that are all like young, you know, and Mike, you can kind of speak for this too. It's a lot of young families that are still having kids and then
Supportive.
and everybody is so supportive.
Yeah.
You've got the Chief and Towers, you've got the Beckmans, and everybody like, they're all on boards of, you know, the golf course. And so then we're giving money to them, like, so when we do fundraisers out at the golf course, they're making money too.
Yeah.
You know, essentially, and I don't know, I think we've done really good about kind of, you know, like even when the community club, okay, they just did a Santa thing with the kids. The daycare's gotten better, I feel like, since I've been on the board with contributing to those types of things. Like, we may not be able to give back to the community because we're a not-for-profit, you know, monetarily, but bake the cookies, make the chili, you know, do those types of things where we can. And then when we do fundraising, if we want to, you know, involve the local businesses or something fun we did this past year. We actually organized tours of all the local little businesses, or not, I shouldn't say little because they're not little, but like Trophies Plus and the golf course and Sparky's and some of the like little boutiques. And we've got like all of our kids, they had to be 3 and up, could go and visit all the stores. Like throughout the summer, we'd go on like, I guess, like a little field trip. You know, and so those are things I just feel like we've gotten a lot of involvement from, you know, supported from the Brita community, but then it's also like the parents are just stellar.
Mhm.
You know, like, for instance, like we just got done, one of the things we thought would be really nice, obviously, like with inflation and just you can only pay your staff members, you know, and I'm just being very honest, it's almost gonna make me tear up, but like, you can't pay staff members on what they're deserving. You know, so all the parents went together and threw money together. And we got like $2,500 to give to them as a Christmas gift. You know, and like if that's a little tiny thing that is like,
So
oh yeah, like the parents, it's like $2,500. You know, some parents gave like $400 a piece. Like, that's just crazy. You know, sorry, but it's just cool. Because,
Well, all daycare centers deal with
oh, it's so sad.
having to pay what they can to their.
I talk to Keely about it at Carroll
Mhm.
all the time.
It's tough because it's a revolving circle, because if you charge more in tuition, then you lose parents because tuition gets too expensive for the
He
children.
actually,
Yeah.
so like during COVID, you feel bad because like, God, $185 like a week for a little kid, like that's a lot of money, right? But like if we don't keep doing that, you can't pay the staff, and knock on wood, we have an awesome director. We have, I mean, the staffing turnover is really not that bad.
Yeah.
You know, like I talked to Keely and I hear about some of the turnover they've had. We have a lot of really young, like if I can continue to pay them or give them a $400 Christmas bonus, those little tiny things are gonna be what makes them stay. You know, or like in any job, you want like promotions, right? You want to be able to go from here to there. So we kind of put in like lead, like not, we always had lead teachers, but then you have on-site supervisors. And then we created like this, I guess if you want to call it like a hierarchy to try to retain the employees. We've done really good though. We were able to give them So everybody is being paid at least $12 an hour. Which I feel like is very good.
Yeah,
When they're taking care of our kids, it should be more, just, when you're heartfelt about it.
Yeah.
Is there a waiting list?
And we can't, where I have the issue is I can take the baby, right? I can take them from onset. It's getting them through the whole center.
Yep.
Which leads me back to this whole project. I can get them into the baby room and the transition room. It's my toddler room where I'm like, uh-oh, now what? Because I can get them there
You're
and I can get them in the
integration.
preschool room.
Yep.
It's pushing them out through the whole center that's causing me, long story short, that's what's causing me the issue when we're trying to do scheduling and staffing. Right now on our waiting list, 9, maybe 10. We added this is a good thing, but like I said, we have a lot of young families. And we always take priority to the family that's there, like already out of the center. So, we have a lot of current families that are bringing kids in Q1 23. So we don't want to, we're kind of, I guess, if you will, we're kind of reserving those spots for those kids. Which I feel like you kind of have to do, because if you didn't do that for the current family member there, you would essentially lose the other kid or two that are already at the center. So you kind of, when you kind of have to, it's give and take a little bit, but we've taken on, like, we just took two new sets of twins, from an outside family that breed a family, but yeah. So, I mean, we still do our fair share of taking on new kids. But you have to be mindful of the current families too. So,
well, there's, finally the federal and the state legislatures are finally recognizing the importance
it's just,
of daycare centers. And, I think there's going to be continued talk about that. And
Yep.
you're seeing more grant dollars, Carroll Daycare received a wonderful grant last year, to help their situation out. So hopefully we'll see more of that.
I think you
And,
will. There's some chirping of more funding.
yeah, I mean,
money
like when we
coming.
left here last year, I had asked you, just how do you, like, as far as just, I mean, I obviously know they created a task force and they do all those things, but it's just, especially if you look at the map, I wish I would have printed it off to bring it, but okay, so through that task force, they created by county deserts. Okay, so you guys know that. And I think why we kept getting that childcare challenge grant money, we're in a deserted area. And that's because if that center would shut down, it would force families, and they'd have to go to in-homes because Sac City is full.
Carroll's full.
Carroll is having, I don't think Carroll's full, it's the staffing that's creating
The
the
full for their
fullage,
staff.
yeah,
right?
Manny's
Because they
full.
can't get the staff.
There was a roundtable in Greenville last week or I'm sorry, in Glidden, and they had the same issue.
Yep, and I just, and I'm a firm believer, and I think there's something to be said about structured licensed daycare centers. One, reliable, right? So you're not gonna get the 5 a.m. phone call that says, hey, my kid's sick, daycare shut down, right? They're always gonna be there. But then I think it's the same structure. It's even from a social perspective, it's good because like my little Wyatt, that's 3 years old, all his friends at the daycare, he's gonna ride the bus with, he's gonna go to preschool with, they're going either to the Carroll or Kemper school systems. So I like that aspect of it just because he's meeting friends from the very, very beginning, which is kind of a comfort level, I guess, if you think about a 3 or 4 year old getting on a bus. And then the fact that they can offer a 3-year-old preschool system, and our director and one of our on-site supervisors actually are going back. They took classes this summer and now in the winter to get additional, I guess, curriculum to be able to do a better like preschool curriculum, like to better organize, so it's just like we have staff members that want to better themselves educationally. Like what more can you really ask for in a little tiny burrito, right? Yes, I would just hate to see that center go by the wayside.
Yeah, you've got a lot of loyalty there in your
Oh,
staff.
yeah, I mean, that's probably what scares me the most.
Yeah. Yeah, because
It-
some of them are getting,
We lost, okay, so when I first got on the board, we had Maryland and Sharon. They both retired within 6 months of me getting off, or getting onto the board. And then Karen is still there as the cook. What, from a succession perspective, Karen's position as the cook, there is so much paperwork to be involved, like to be a state licensed daycare center and, you know, get all of this, you know, like, okay, so they give us, the state will give us a little bit of money back on like food, right? But in order to get that money back, there is ungodly amounts of paperwork that you guys would have, you would just almost
Yeah,
fall over
sure.
seeing.
Yeah.
So her position scares me a little bit. But we're trying to do our best to like stagger some things, just, you know, transition periods, I guess. But right now we've done really, really good with keeping our staff. We have our full-time employees have been there for 3 years, which is awesome. So, yeah, sorry for the waterworks, but
No, you're good.
thank you.
I did
Yep.
see that, I did do a percentage of your parent tuition versus the total revenues, and that's at 78.07%. So just a figure that I noticed.
yeah, like I said, so during COVID, we didn't increase our rates, and I think that was probably a board decision that we just felt bad because, you know, parents were having to pay, like, they were paying a holding fee to the daycare center because we had to make money somehow just to
Yep.
even keep the lights,
Stay open.
right?
Yep.
But then they were having to pay outside care, you know, for them to go back to work. So we didn't feel like we skipped that year of raising rates. We did increase by a good amount in August of this last year. We actually had Trish, who is one of our, she kind of helps with just our program scheduling, rosters, structuring the daycare center. She came in and gave us averages of all the other surrounding daycare centers and where we were maybe lower and where we could have been higher. So there's still improvement to be made in our rate sheet. I just don't want to do it all at once because that's like a huge shock to the system. So I think parents know that, especially in our preschool and after school and before school programs. I think we can make some more money there. I think there's ways for improvement, but I think it's got to be a little bit structured because I can't, you know, I'm afraid that if I did it all at once to meet that average that Trish had showed us, that we'd lose parents maybe,
Mhm.
you know, so you kind of have to think about that from just a, I don't, because like the Kemper Cares and after school programs that Carroll have to competition as well. So I gotta be thinking in mind with it a little bit. We're aware of where we can make better decisions. I just gotta be strategic of how I would go about it. One thing we did really do though is we were one of the only centers, I talked to Keely a lot about this. We were one of the only centers that offered a part-time rate. And that's what really, that percentage he just said, that's probably what really killed us. Because we would have a kid, so like at the Carroll Daycare Center, if you have a part-time kid, say they want to come just 3 days a week, you're still paying the full-time, whatever that weekly rate is. We were not doing that. It's been kind of a something that, you know, I feel like past boards have always said is like a good thing that the Burita Daycare Center would offer is the part-time rates, but it was killing us from a profit perspective. So we kind of made the decision that we got rid of that part-time rate, which hopefully we're starting to see. We didn't lose any parents, thank God, but the part-time kids we did have were loyal families. I wasn't worried about it, but.
Anybody have any more questions? If not, we'll
Yeah, just let me know.
let you know. February, March.
Sweet.
We'll
Thank you,
do
guys.
the- Thank you.
All right.
Good luck.
Oh, God, I would have been very upset. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, next item on the agenda is to approve payables. Courtney, Jean, I see, do we have somebody up at the Yes Center?
Evidently we do.
Okay,
That's a revolving door up there, you know.
yeah, I know.
Fortunately, we're on the low end of that thing in the last couple of years.
And we're not Woodbury.
Yeah,
And then Courtney, real quick, and I don't know why this jumped out at me, but ABCD LLC supervisor. That's your lease for the parking lot at the Fricky building? Gotcha.
Yeah.
That was my only thing.
I did have a question in regard to a couple borings on secondary roads, and I just got off the phone with Zach. That is something that we do on paved roads. So those were for tile borings. So I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Scott and I talked about this morning earlier, and I just got off phone with Zach now, so. Did find out the answer. I did not remember that we ever did that, but I guess we don't cross paved roads that often as much as gravel. I'll make a motion that we,
I was just gonna explain the medical examiner, but go ahead.
go ahead, do that first.
Well, under the medical examiner, there's a $11, $33, 66, 22, 55, and 22. Those are payments that should have started. So the ambulance union got a 5.5% raise. Medical examiner pay a year, 16 months ago, went from 150 to 200. That 5.5% raise was not reflected on the $200 at the time. So now instead of the flat rate of 200, there'll be 211. And this was back pay for the medical examiners for that time period from July 1 until current.
Looks to me like there's one in here for $200.
He's got it included though below. And as part of his 66, that's included in there. But so now they'll always be until next fiscal year, starting July 1, if there is a raise, it'll be reflected. There's playing catch up. Go ahead with your motion, James.
I will make a motion to approve the payables for the period.
I'll second the motion.
Been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we have two flats to approve. Really didn't see anything of issue.
I'll make a motion to approve the two plats.
I'll second that.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, to discuss the GIS position. Do you want to go first? You want me to? I'll go.
Just explain it.
Okay, so currently Sarah with GIS is shared through 3 offices. She spends some time in the recorder's office, the assessor's office, and then doing GIS. She also spends time helping out at the sheriff's department or E911 mapping for them, and secondary roads or some utilization that they can use in maps as far as mapping out drains, utilities, all sorts of things that would benefit the county. So this proposal that I'm going to share with you guys, and obviously this is a full board agreement. What I would like to see happen is I would like to have Sarah take on GIS.
This is board discussion that's generated this, correct?
Yes. We had this discussion in closed session. Today in open session, we can make a decision. We can't make decisions in closed session, but you know that. The board decided that we should have Sarah move over to full-time into the recorder's office, where she will mainly function with GIS and take on passports. There is some training that she would have to do to be able to do this, but I think it would be a huge benefit to the Carroll County people to be able to offer that every day of the week and on this main floor. There is no compensation for passports. So it'd be Sarah doing a little bit of a due diligence to the county and serving the county and offering that full-time. Now, it does create, not an issue, but Sarah will be in, or we would like to have Sarah in the recorder's office, but they cannot touch vital records. So Ashton would have to do her job, Sarah's gonna do her job, and they cannot touch each other's paperwork because of federal regulation. That is our proposal at this time. Does anybody have any questions or?
Sarah,
And I can discuss. Okay,
Well, didn't we discuss zoning as well? P and Z?
we did have a conversation about P and Z. That appointment happens after the January 1st. So I don't feel we can make a decision at this time because that's an appointed position. So that would have to be at the January 1st meeting.
So you would appoint that position at your first meeting of the year.
But we did have a
Gotcha.
discussion.
Okay.
I don't think we can make that decision today because of that not happening, but we did have it, and I'll say that too. We did have a discussion about Sarah taking on P and Z as well. So it's not just a GIS full-time position. It would be P and Z passports plus GIS. Again, offering that on the main level. And people coming in for building permits or anything like that, that would be, again, every day, all day for the Carroll County people. So the decision making today would be strictly just the GIS and the passports, and then come January, it is our intentions to have her take on P&Z.
I think that's a good way to put it. It's our intentions of January 1st that we be reappointed.
And then her pay will be the same as what she makes right now with GIS, but her hours would be strictly just GIS, P&Z, and well, P&Z wouldn't happen until January 1st.
but she will continue instead of the lower pay rate that she received in the assessor and in the recorder's office. And then her hours in those two departments will be terminated.
Correct.
So the hourly rate would be her GIS. hourly.
$364.
Okay, 'cause she'll need to give us a letter to that effect, kind of explaining what's going on. So I just want to make sure she uses the right rate.
And I think that it needs to be also stated that we discussed that she would be reporting to the board. That she would be just a direct reporting directly to the board.
What was that word you used, Courtney? It's not a department head, but it was a
She's a
Director.
coordinator. Coordinator.
Coordinator.
So when she does hourly and any quarterly reports, it's strictly to the board, and the board can question anything that she does or get updates as well.
So in her absence, how is she going to cover that?
Great question. So I think I will have a conversation with Lisa, because somebody in her department that does not touch driver's license can accept the
The
application,
tax deputies, I believe, can.
accept the application, but and then until Sarah comes back, and they can approve it as well.
Can I interrupt? We've been
No.
doing passports, and nobody's ever said anything to us about taking them away from our department and changing them. So, I mean, we put in 5 years in the passports. And so for all of a sudden here, it meaning that you're making the decision to give passports to somebody else without even including us in the conversation is a little disappointing.
Well, we don't always. I think in the 8 years that I've been on the board, we've had discussions and moved positions around without any discussions before. I mean, I think even when you got passports, when you got.
We took it because
PM.
nobody else wanted it. It had been passed around multiple times before it ended up in our office. And we took it and we improved it.
Well, I'm not saying that you didn't improve it. I think some of the discussion was that people have come in and they They wanted to get their passport, but there was nobody down and they,
And that's
You know.
been that way because of the other jobs that we do. If we are there any other day but the Wednesday, we help people.
right,
We've always helped people who came when we were there. We've never turned anybody away. But we had to do something because we aren't always in the office. And that's the way it's been for 5 years.
and I
And
think
I've
that,
never heard one single complaint that somebody came in and had a big, huge issue because we were not there. We've always made appointments with people. That's always been part of the deal.
I think the discussion we had was about enhancing and serving the public better and having it in a first floor office.
Okay. But you never included us with that conversation. So I'm sitting downstairs watching this meeting online. And all of a sudden, we're losing passports, and we're renewing right now for the next year. So, I mean, something a little more timely would have been appropriate, in my opinion, to have at least included us and how we could help or do something different or make a better transition. Because now I'm like, do we renew? Do we not renew? What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to tell people? I feel
What are
like
you talking about? Renewing your
Every year. you
certification,
Training.
To become
your certificates. to be-
certificates for the new year.
I think it'd be awesome if you renewed. It could be a backup if needed. But I guess.
At this
if we're-
time,
if
I
we're gonna
don't.
cover it on the first floor, I mean, you're probably correct.
And I don't think it wasn't a direct reflection of how you handle your office. I think this is an added benefit to Carroll County, to the citizens, that they can come in Monday through Friday because you do have so many responsibilities.
I don't disagree. It just seems to me like because nobody even came down and even brought it up to us that this was a topic of conversation, that we're basically being told, you're not doing it good enough. And
It says strategic decision
Then
on
we should be
location.
included in the conversation,
You cannot be included in closed session.
but we didn't know that, I've talked to Sarah too. And we did not know that passport was even part of the conversation. Closed session or not. This is something we've been providing, something we improved. And now we're like, you're just taking it away. I mean, that was also, if money does come into our budget for that service. And so that's a huge loss to our budget if you take that away from us also.
yet you are the director of public health at this time,
I'm the co-director.
co-public.
And really, my only role in public health is emergency management. I'm not doing the day-to-day public health stuff.
Well, I think going ahead, I think it was a decision that was made, and Scott explained it really well for the public. And I think going forward, I think your role in the public health is going to be very important going ahead, as well as Sherry's.
Sherry doesn't do anything.
Well,
Sherry has basically been the passport person from the beginning. So I guess I'm just a little disappointed.
Well, what was
that
she doing prior to that?
She was still doing all of her environmental health stuff. But whenever we get a call, she's the one that would direct that. We were both there on Wednesdays unless I had to leave for some reason to do an inspection, she'd stay. So we were there all day on Wednesday, one of us or both of us.
So is there anything broken with the plan of what we just laid out?
I'm not sure what the plan is. I mean, what I
You just
heard
laid it
before I
out.
bolted up here, so I could at least speak my mind about the.
It sounds
I
like
didn't
there's
hear
an
it all.
opportunity to move more services to the ground floor, to the first floor.
Okay,
Well, and be honest, we all,
Broken,
I think,
maybe the communication was bad, but I don't see what was broken with, I don't see.
I guess I'm confused as to what our role is going to be with passports going forward. Do
There-
we have a role? Or are you giving it all to Sarah? What's our role gonna be?
I think it's gonna fall under GIS along with probably P and Z.
So she's taking over planning and zoning also?
It's an
Yep.
appointment.
It's,
Okay,
that's not being decided today because that's an appointment, a yearly appointment that happens January 1st.
okay. Again, that's something I've been doing for the last couple of years that,
Well, and I think on far as passports, we were talking that this would probably not take effect until the January 1st anyway, I think, because there's some time that needs to be, things need to be worked out or transition. So, but one of the things that we all had complaints about, that you guys are either out on the field and stuff, people come in and do things, and that's why we're moving some of these over to this position right now.
right, and nobody's ever come down to us and said you've been receiving those complaints. This is the first I'm hearing about it. I guess you have to see where I'm coming from, in that we've never had any issues with doing the passports, other than people don't like the basement location, which is why I've kind of been told for the last handful of years that once the lower level got updated and finished, you were gonna move us up so people didn't have to go to the basement for passports.
I think the time is now to go ahead and make GIS a full-time position. There will be some hours available for P and Z and passports.
Okay.
In that
Complete the
position as well as that
transition, yeah.
position.
Yeah, I don't know that.
And then, I mean, it may not even stay on this level. It may go down a floor.
After the remodel.
After the
it might go
remodel,
down to the ground.
It may
floor,
go there. I mean,
Not the basement, the ground.
things are pretty fluid right now.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of positions that may be moving for different reasons.
I don't, the moving thing is neither here nor there. It's just, again, it's a couple jobs now that my office has been doing for the last couple of years. And I'm just now hearing that we're going to lose them. And so I'm just a little,
I have no reservation.
Well, I guess, to speak a little bit to that, Carrie, I don't think it's appropriate for any one of us individually to have that conversation with you prior to the decision being made, which was made last Friday. So.
Well, a discussion was
Wasn't
made.
made last Friday.
or
Discussed last
discussed
Friday, yeah.
Yeah, discussed last Friday,
Yes, no.
last Monday.
Last Monday in closed session.
Yeah,
well, ultimately, you all make the decision. I just wanted you to know that, those are duties that we have been given, mostly because nobody else wanted them, and we took them. And it just would have been nice to have had somebody say, we've gotten complaints over the years. I've not heard that.
I'll make a
How can
motion
you
to-
do something to make it better?
No, I'll make the motion. I mean, to go ahead and make GIS a full-time position with passports and
Don't have that as part of the motion.
yeah. Just the passports and GIS. Because you can't make that appointment until after the first.
Appointments yearly and that's our first.
Yeah.
To be located in the recorder's office. There's a
I'll
motion.
second
on
that.
it. Second, any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And Carrie, I can come down after the meeting and have a discussion with you.
Be great, thank you.
All right. Item number 7, committee reports.
I can go first.
Real quick, Courtney, is there a lot of moving around for the budget for that? Move.
Nothing that can't be handled in the next amendment we do.
Sorry, continue.
Last week, I had on Wednesday night was in Glidden, the Carroll, or I'm sorry, the Glidden daycare and the Carroll County Roundtable, which was well attended and
It was.
yes. Thursday night was Region 12 policy council meeting. Nothing new and exciting there. Friday, I zoomed in to Webster City for second district judicial. This week on Thursday, I have decategorization at 3 p.m, and Thursday evening, I believe it is 5:30 or 5:15 compensation board. I will be attending but not speaking.
5:30.
5:30. Questions?
Wednesday, you potentially could be going over to.
Yeah.
Boone
Oh,
with
I'm sorry.
me for
Wednesday,
the-
first
District.
District 1 supervisors, District 2 supervisors
Mhm.
statewide meeting or roundtable, yes.
I can go next. Let me get my stuff. On Tuesday, I went to CADC, or Carroll, whatever it is now. And what they had at that meeting was Eric from St. Anthony was there and gave a presentation on St. Anthony Regional Hospital. And there was a lot of good data there, particularly in regard to tax dollars, what the county is saving by them being the hospital they are instead of being county funded. I have printed this off. Sometime I will share it to you when I'm with you. I thought it's a lot of good documentation in there that I've always kind of argued with some of the people, some of the benefits that we've had. Then also on Tuesday, I gotta get the right sheet here. I had policy council. At that, we went through all the playground and safety rules or forms. There was no issues there. We went through the program report, which shows the number of kids enrolled and stuff like that. And our staffing, we had a lot of staff that was we're looking for, but as of that date of the meeting, a lot of those positions had been filled, so we've been very fortunate there. They did not report on school readiness yet because that is still being compiled yet. And then we did approve a policy 533 for early Head Start for 3-year-olds for the transition into the Head Start. And then also approve the Head Start and early Head Start selection criteria data. Then on Wednesday, this week has been kind of as you know, with what my situation has been, kind of a lot of things been changing. But Wednesday I was supposed to have a Rolling Hills meeting that was supposed to be kind of a hybrid meeting, but then it got canceled because it was going to be totally a Zoom meeting because of an illness. And then it got canceled again because some of the stuff that's on the meeting, they feel it needs to be done in person. So it got canceled last Wednesday and has been moved to this Wednesday. I was not able to attend the Carroll County Roundtable. But then Thursday night, I had a New Opportunities Board meeting. Again, we went through all the stuff that I told you about Policy Council, went through our financials, everything's looking good there. Right now, our Head Start and the Development Center being rebuilt, it's looking like we're getting ready to move in. We're waiting on the fire marshal's approval there. We did approve an initial contract for DOA, Department of Energy, of $318,341. Probably the biggest thing we talked about at the board meeting was in regard to our state unemployment tax that we pay. One of the things is that normal state unemployment tax is, I think, what, you probably help me out. I can't remember what it is. It's like 4 something, I think. And they want to move us up to 7%, which would make our tax liability for the year $240,000, and we only have claims of $109,000 a year. Understand that we do lay off Head Start kids during the summer, or teachers during the summer, so that's where most of that comes from. So we would be paying in more than what we have, but there is a portion of the law that states, like nonprofits like we are, that we can go and do a self-funded unemployment tax. So we would pay this ourselves, we would be saving ourselves, so we have an application into the state to do that. The other thing, we did a heap amendment of $7,100 and also a lot heap for low income amendment. That was for also, we approved that, and then also a family development sufficiency program amendment of 230,000. Then that was my week last week. This week, I have Rolling Hills Wednesday. I was planning on going to the ISAC District 1 meeting, but that is not going to be able to happen. If I have that meeting with Rolling Hills, there's no way I can make it from one point to the next. And then Thursday is a compensation board meeting, and I think there's tentatively a Yes Center board meeting planned for Friday. That's my week, and I'm gonna stick with it.
I can go next. Last week I had no official meetings. This week I have a conservation board later today. There was a quorum issue there that could actually get canceled. Wednesday have East-West Nishnabotna water management meeting in Oakland. And I will, that's an in-person meeting, so there's no Zoom capabilities there with that one. That's it from you.
Okay. Last week, I had the Republican meeting in the morning, and then I did the newspaper and radio, and then I attended the Glidden Roundtable, and like Scott said, it was very well attended, good informative information. There were a lot of great things going on in Carroll County. And that daycare tour was impressive. Then I had Regency 12 executive meeting, and I will hand this around if you guys want to look at the auditor's report. And then Courtney, you can keep this for the county's official auditor's report. Like Scott said, policy council, everything's going well. Nothing really jumped out. We discussed the fiscal year 23 to 26 transportation improvement program, which we did not approve that. That'll be in the next one that we approve. Then I met with a couple people on some zoning issues. We had conversations about things they're unhappy about. Then I had a few phone calls about level B, C roads being used as dumping grounds.
Yeah, I saw that too.
And I think we're gonna keep a new one compared to the one we had received. I think that's gonna be becoming a bigger issue, and I think that's something we need to discuss in the future, maybe get John Warden involved and know what the difference between littering and dumping, and explaining all that, and make a public announcement of what the difference is and what happens if you get caught doing that. And I will talk to you guys about some of the other issues. Then I also attended New Hope's 45th and celebration and 45th celebration out at Swan Lake. This coming week, I have Wesco tonight, and then Wednesday, the District 2. I'm sorry, second district.
District 1.
District 1, whatever. I'll be at a district meeting that
In Boone.
night in Boone. Whether it's 1, 2, 5, 10, I don't know, I'll be there. And then also that day, I have a Iowa workforce Zoom meeting, and it's been canceled, rescheduled, canceled. So I think it's this Wednesday, hopefully. And then Thursday, compensation board at 5:30. And who has the newspaper and radio this week?
I have it,
You have it?
unless you want to do it one last time.
Thanks. Go ahead.
I will.
And I brought a calendar, Courtney, look at this. So we can write down who has newspaper and radio for the next year.
But it.
I always had a little book in my door that I did it on.
Okay, no upset.
I used to follow Rich, but now
Are you
he's
excited
gone,
about
so
the calendar?
change things.
Courtney, do we have anything for next
I
week?
do have a couple more things that we
Go
forgot.
ahead.
Carroll County Ambulance, 4 of their full-time staff have completed their
Oh.
critical care
Thank you.
paramedic training. So now, 99% of them who are full-time have that. There's gonna be retirement coming up on January 6th. Ray Ann will be retiring. And the new ambulance, is getting closer. They haven't got the final delivery date yet, but that should be happening this spring, early spring, it sounds like. I think it was supposed to be November, then the hurricane had issues down there. There's 2 hurricanes that messed with it. That's all.
Thank you for reporting on that. I apologize. I forgot.
Okay, next week, so far I have RSVP foster grandparent funding request, CASA funding request, which I believe we haven't funded in the past.
What's that stand for?
Perhaps, I'm gonna look, Carroll.
Similar to
Critical
crisis.
Centers Against Abuse. Is what I have written down, but there might be a little bit more to it, but it's. Sorry. And then Jason Huffman let me know that they're ready to do the final acceptance on the Essex project. So they will be here about 10 o'clock.
And then Courtney, those emails we were getting from Badings and SCH, that was, you got the final paperwork, everything. We don't need to do
I
anything
just,
with
and
that.
he came in and dropped off originals and I
Okay.
just put them in the file, so I.
Okay.
Speaking of Badings, when you guys make a decision, the 4 offices up here, will you get a hold of him? So I think he wants to know the decision on.
Do you
the-
guys want to be part of that decision?
You know my thoughts. I mean, I shared the same ones as you, so.
I have
Good.
no opinion on it.
Gene, we're talking about the colors of the countertops in the offices. They brought in a couple.
If you talk to my wife, I'm not the one to be talking about that.
Okay, well, I didn't want to leave you out.
I am not a designer or a color coordinator person. I'll let that up to you guys.
I think it'll be a no change cost order, if I understood Tony correct, because of the recommended supplier SEH wanted us to use. Tony's preferred supplier is somebody different and the materials will be different perhaps. But I think it'll be a no change. Or a no dollar request.
Okay, I have no problem, as long as no change, no financial.
Okay. All right,
You do that, then.
Dalton, anything online?
I don't see anything, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dalton.
All right, we're in order for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We've got a motion in a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Gene. Take care, everybody.
Yeah.